All right, guys. So today we're going to continue talking about K-pop culture and Korean pop music in general. All right. So yesterday we discussed what makes K-pop so popular around the world. Today we're going to read a short article on how K-pop is reaching into North Korea and how it has begun to change the lives of North Korean citizens. So we're going to do something a little different. Instead of me handing you a paper copy, you're going to have a digital one. And then you're going to answer some questions just like before. All right, so before we begin, we have some pre-reading questions. The first thing I want or haven't that I want you to answer really quick before you start with the article is answer these questions. First one, answer how do you think K-pop is sneaking into North Korea? Now, I know we haven't read the article, but how do you think it's getting into North Korea? Next, number two, why do you think K-pop is becoming popular in North Korea? So we talked about why it's popular in South Korea. Why do you think now K-pop is becoming more popular in North Korea? And then the last one that I want you to answer is why do you think the North Korean government does not allow South Korean pop music? Why do you think they don't allow South Korean pop music in North Korea? So take a moment, answer those two questions or those three questions, and then we can begin reading the article together. All right, let's go and begin. All right, so I'm going to start off where it says Seoul. Now, this is totally up to you. You can listen to my recording or you can read it on your own. If you choose to read it on your own, you can stop the video now and just go straight back to the Google Doc. All right, Seoul, South Korea. As a girl in North Korea, Ryu Hee-jin was brought up to perform patriotic songs. These songs were meant to praise the iron will, courage, and compassion of the country's leader at the time, Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong Il, guys, is Kim Jong Un's father. So this is the dad we're talking about. When she eventually heard American and South Korean pop music, she could not believe how different it was from North Korean music. When you listen to North Korean music, you have no emotions, but when you listen to American or South Korean music, it literally gives you chills, she said. The lyrics are so fresh, so relatable. When kids listen to this music, their facial expressions just change. North Korea's tight control over its people. North Korea became a country in 1948. After World War II ended, Korea had been under the rule of Japan since 1910. Most of the victors from the World War, the United States and the Soviet Union, now the country of Russia, divided the region in Korea in half. Now, before we continue, let's go ahead and answer some of these questions or take time to answer some questions. The first one asks, in North Korea, what type of songs did Ryu Hee-jin perform? So look back in the reading and answer that question. The next question, why does Ryu Hee-jin like American and South Korean pop music? So that one you'll also find in the section that we just read. All right, let's continue. So the United States established the country of South Korea, which developed into a democratic country like the United States, where the people elect a president. The Soviet Union set up North Korea, and because the Soviet Union was a communist country at the time, North Korea became a communist country with hereditary line of succession in government. In other words, guys, they have a dynasty like we've talked about in the past. In 1950, the Korean War followed, with the United States supporting South Korea and the Soviet Union supporting North Korea. In North Korea, people needed permission to leave or enter the country, and the government owns and controls everything. Since 1948, North Korea has been ruled by men from the same family. Once again, also a dynasty. The government controls what people can watch on television and what music they hear. Therefore, the people of North Korea do not know much of what happens outside or even inside their country. There is evidence that K-pop music from South Korea is changing that. This popular music is causing some people to think twice about the North Korean government, and many people are defecting, which means secretly fleeing North Korea to live in another country, because they are tired of the government controlling their lives. This rising number of defectors says that music is one factor in their disillusionment with their government, according to Lee Kwang-baek, president of South Korea's Unification Media Group. UMG is made up of journalists from inside North Korea, and it runs a radio station that secretly broadcasts into the country. So, one thing that paragraph mentions is how they're starting to hear reports of North Koreans not being very pleased with how things are set in North Korea. One way they've been able to learn about the world around them is through the music. Growing cell phone ownership in North Korea and the country's busy trade business with neighboring China has given more access to K-pop. The North Korean government has spoken out against the music in the past and has vowed to crush it. So, just like we've talked about before, with North Korea not having or controlling access to the internet, television, now they're trying to control what people can see on their phones. With more people having access to phones, you're able to see and learn more about the world around you. Based on what we've seen, the North Korean government wants to crush it because, once again, they want to keep their population uh, uninformed from the world around them. A recent UMG survey of 200 defectors found that more than 90% that watched foreign movies, TV, and music in North Korea, almost all of the defectors knew of someone who had been punished for having foreign movies or music. And more than half of it said it become more dangerous to access foreign media since leader Kim Jong Un took power in 2011. So, just like we've talked about before, when you're doing things you're not supposed to, or you're being unloyal to the party or to the government, there you will be severely punished. In this case, if you have foreign TV shows, foreign music, you're going to get in trouble. The risks for viewers in North Korea are real, with a special unit of the police and security services known as Group 109 in charge of the renewed crackdown on pop culture. Even minors who are caught can face up to 6 months to a year in a re education camp. Adults can face a lifetime of hard labor, or for sensitive material, they can be executed. So you can see that, once again, they don't mess around when it comes to punishing. Popular culture driving young North Koreans to defect. Ryu is one of the many defectors who say K-pop and Western popular music opened their eyes. She was on the national synchronized swimming team and then got a job as a waitress in Southern Europe, where she spent evenings in nightclubs dancing to Gangnam Style with coworkers and friends from South Korea. In 2015, at age 23, she defected to the South. Former defectors have long understood the power of foreign culture, not just the music, but also the performers' clothes and hairstyle. The thing that I wanted to do was dye my hair and wear miniskirts and jeans, said Kang Nara, age 22. Once I wore jeans to the market and I was told to take them off, they were burned in front of my eyes. Kang defected to South Korea in 2014 so that I could express myself freely. So remember, we talked about what are some things that are allowed in North Korea. We talked about how jeans are not allowed. We just read, they actually told her to take her jeans off, and they burned them in front of her. Pretty extreme. All right, what country? So let's answer these questions in red. First question from that second page: what country did North Korea base their government off of? So what government did they model theirs after? The second question: when was the Korean War fought? So what year? You'll find that up at the top as well. The next question: who supported North Korea during the Korean War? Who supported South Korea during this war? How are people able to watch slash listen to South Korean K-pop in North Korea? So how have people gotten around the censorship that we've discussed? And then the last one in this section: what can happen to someone if they listen to South Korean K-pop music? Especially, what can happen to children? Tell me what they can do to kids your age if they get caught with K-pop music, South Korean. All right, guys. Lastly, let's finish this page off. All right. North Korea's leaders often say one thing and do something different when it comes to the ideas of the South. They talk about uniting the two Korean countries, but then discourage the movement of culture from South to the North. So here they're talking about they want a united country, but behind closed doors, they want to continue to keep them separate. Last year, Kim Jong Un attended a South Korean musical performance in Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, that included young K-pop acts. The concert was shown in the South, but only small parts were shown on the news in the North. So even though this performance was in Pyongyang, they're telling us that they still limited the types of music and show that North Koreans could see on their TVs. One woman who escaped North Korea last year said she watched a video of the concert behind closed doors. Kim Jong Un apparently clapped and cheered at the performance, but we could only watch smuggled footage of it, she said. Kim Jong il, the former leader of North Korea, was the father of the current leader. After Ryu defected, she learned from a documentary that Kim Jong il had been a fan of South Korean cinema and TV shows. So it turns out that Kim Jong il, the father of Kim Jong Un, was a big fan of these types of TV shows. I mean, that's what we would call being a hypocrite, telling his citizens they can't watch something, but then he's able to do it. And unfortunately, because he's in power and he controls so much of the country, everyone's afraid to speak out or do anything against it. I was so angry, she said. We would literally cry when we sang about the hardships of Kim Jong il's life, and I never imagined he was watching a South Korean TV show. These days, Ryu is studying for a business degree, but dreams of becoming a K pop singer or even breaking into Hollywood. It's so incredible how far I have come, she said. South Korean music really played a central role in guiding me through this journey. So keep in mind, she is now in South Korea, has escaped North Korea, and is now, from our reading and from our understanding, she's living her best life. All right, last but not least, guys, let's answer these questions. First one from this last page is based on the article is instead of Kim Jong Un, that should say Kim Jong Il. Kim Jong Il, a fan of South Korean pop music? And if so, why is that surprising? So now tell me, why did you find it surprising that that he was listening and watching to Korean cinema movies? Once you've done that, you can move on to the final part of this assignment. For this final part of this assignment, I created a link. You guys can tap the link, open it, and then sign on to Flipgrid. And for this final part of your assignment, I want you to record a response on what we've just read. So extra points are going to be given to you if you make your video response fun. And what I mean by that, I want you to use filters and stickers. All right, guys, once you're done with that, you guys can mark it as done. Make sure you have answered all the questions. Thank you.